we go. Thursday morning, another scintillating edition of the program Morning Spring right here from Western Spring Television, channels 190 on the Star Times DTT. How are we? Hope we all had a splendid night rest. You should be. Things are definitely pedaling for the better side of life, and we hope it definitely will. How are we? It's a pleasure to be back once again. Welcome to Morning Spring. If you are kindly joining us for the very first time, we'd like to appreciate your presence and thank you for always being there with us. For our very esteemed viewers who are definitely joining us live on the Star Times platform, or if you are joining us live on our YouTube channel, we say thank you. And just as we keep reeling out every time, that you can follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. And obviously, our YouTube channel is definitely available at Western Spring Television. TUNDE IDOWU is my name, at Irresistible TD on Twitter. Let's tag along, let's plug it, and let's do the needful. It's a solo run this morning. Definitely Femi somewhere. Official duties, trying to get things right for us, and he will be joining me hopefully tomorrow as well. Welcome to the program, and if it is the first time, let me tell you what we do up in here. Very shortly, we'll look at some of the major headlines making the rounds from the different dailies that we have with us here. The Punch, the Guardian, most of the dailies. There's quite a whole lot to talk about from the dailies this morning. We will look into that, and also we will be looking majorly into the strike has been put together by the National Association of Resident Doctors. This is something that it's been lingering. Both these doctors and the federal government have been at this loggerheads concerning so many things that the doctors are calling the attention of government to look into. It's something that had been there even with the previous administration. We had doctors going on strike. And it's really, really very sad that at this moment we have doctors, if we have to go to the different hospitals today, government-owned hospitals, you find that there are patients, but nobody to attend to them. So it's not a good time this moment in time, because this is something that is definitely, I know it's definitely avoidable when this strike thing pops up. And as they normally say, that is the only language that the government at all levels tend to listen to, that makes them wake up, that makes them to do the needful and do the right things until they embark on strike. Now, resident doctors, here we go, but it is not something that is palatable to the ears. It's not something that is worth hearing, that doctors are on strike. Honestly, we'll find out why. What are their agitations? What do they want? How long have they been discussing this with government at all levels? We will discuss this in the course of this program very, very shortly. I want to welcome you on behalf of the entire transmission team, my director, my very amazing producers, the entire camera team. Thank you for being there with us. Let's take a short commercial break. When I return, the dailies will be first. Let's do this together. It's still Morning Spring from Western Spring Television. Good morning.
Can you imagine the feeling when you get your news as they break with facts and clarity? Our news are reported as it is.
In Africa, and all those who masterminded the way it happened will have to pay a price.
Enjoy Western programs, projecting culture and tradition to the world. Brought to you as the break and recapped every hour for your update.
You must never forget the sacrifices of the heroes of Nigeria's democracy.
Produced and brought to you in a unique way never before seen.
Western Spring.
And Western Spring Television. Television is coming home in your color and culture.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast. Detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
All right, thank you for being there. Welcome if you are just tuning in. It's still Morning Spring right here from Western Spring Television. Let's get the show started. The much awaited ministerial list is out, and I know it's one of the major things that is definitely on virtually all the dailies for today. And you can pick up any of the dailies. You will most definitely see all the names, and it's in the media already. But let's get the program started right now. Let's check out some of the stories making the rounds first from the Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper, and here we go. The big bold caption on the pages of the Nation for today says, El Rufai, Wike, Oyetola, Alake, Fagbemi make ministers list. The writer there says Edun Patei, Adelabu, Beta Edu also nominated by President. And just as it's something that we have all Nigerians, the world at large, have been waiting for to know who will be made minister. But you know, it's something that we will look into in the course of this program as well. And let's see, probably we can get some reactions to the names that have been nominated. Looking at former Kaduna State Governor Malam Nasir El-Rufai making the list, looking at former Rivers State Governor. I know most Nigerians who will like, what? But politics is it goes beyond party affiliation. It's I feel it should be more about competence. Looking at people who putting the round peg in that round hole, and looking at Wike making the list, former governor of Osun State making the list as well. And quite a whole lot of other names. The names, you can definitely get them from virtually all the newspapers that we have for today. And woo, let's see. And we just hope they get down to action as soon as possible. And let's do the needful. Nigerians need quite a whole lot to be done. So each minister with their portfolios doing the right thing at this very, very great moment. Let's leave that for now, and I wish, okay, let me see if I can just reel out some of the other names. Former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and former Rivers State, his Rivers State counterpart Yusuf Wike, and also you have other names there. Let me see if I can just get these names across. Also nominated for cabinet portfolio, legal nominary Latif Fagbemi, and you have Olawale Edun, you have Adebayo Adelabu, you have former Osun State Governor Adeboye Oyetola, All Progressive APC, okay, Ubara leader, Mrs. Beta Edu, and quite a whole lot. These names, wow. Okay, here our ministers are here. Our ministers are here. We will, in the course of this program on probably tomorrow or thereabout, we will definitely look at and analyze each of these names. Do they fit to be part of this administration? But then we'll keep our fingers crossed this beautiful day. Let's see what it looks like. So many great names, But then let's see what it looks like. Let's move on. You have the picture of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu there, and what's happening in Niger Republic is not something that calls for happiness at this moment in time. This coup d'etat in Niger Republic is and looking at what President Tinubu is saying here, he's saying we reject threat to democracy in Niger Republic, says Tinubu, and the writer says restore constitutional order, says ECOWAS, UN, AU, US, EU, others. We're looking forward to hopefully the peace returning to Niger Republic at this point in time. The world is evolved to the point whereby democracy is what is thriving, that should thrive at this moment, not military coups and military rulership or whatever. But we should be able to do things democratically. But what is actually going on at this moment in time, we hope and pray that peace will be restored to Niger Republic, our dear neighbors, at this point in time. And just beside, to my right-hand side of that picture, on the pages of the Nation newspaper, says, APC NEC may okay Ganduje, Bashiru, August 3. Why I quit NWC. That's credited to Lukman. You want to know why? Please check out that full details from the pages of the Nation newspaper that I am reading out this morning. And on the bottom strip of the Nation newspaper, 5,000 illegal buildings demolished in Abuja. 5,000. And resident doctors begin strike, which is our key topic for what we will look at. Why is this so? Couldn't they and the federal government have come to a consensus, and rather than the strike action? We'll look into that in the course of this program. And moving further, after the major list, the banner headline of the Nation newspaper that has the names of the ministers that have been nominated, you have that story on the red strip, says rep to probe IOC to probe $4 billion debt to NDDC. Reps to probe IOC's $4 billion debt to NDDC. And DSS investigates scuffle in court on over Emefiele. We hope somebody must be punished. I kept saying that because that's a disgrace to the agency. It is a disgrace to the nation for that to have happened. Looking at what the DSS guys did there yesterday, day before yesterday at the court, that is a total disgrace to the agency. Seriously, and somebody should take the blame. Somebody must be made a scapegoat for other agency heads to be able to know how to caution and correct their personnel at this moment in time. That the Department of State seem to be proving that probably they are God in their own making, but we don't see that. Shouldn't be all of them. They're all agencies of government whereby they should be able to collaborate to get the needful and do the needful. There are ways to do things about that, but it was an eyesore. It was a disgrace, an embarrassment to this great nation for what transpired at the courts or about 48 hours ago. On the top strip of the same daily, the Nation newspaper, strike, give government more time. President tells Labour. And the writer there says, we will protest August 2nd, says NLC. Notice contempt of court. That's the NLC saying August 2nd, it's going to be a protest, but the government is saying, give us more time. Government is a continuum, notwithstanding the fact that this is a new government in town. It's what he meant, but it's government is continuum, and it's something drastic must just be done and done rightly. It's not until when labor, resident doctors, IPMAN, or that, but not until when they call for strike. That's when government at all levels will now begin to jostle and call for plea No, it shouldn't be. These are things that had been stated, and why don't we just face these things and do them as at when due? That's the basis of things. Make them happy as at when they need to be, and always, so that all this aspect of they're going on strike, we begin negotiating. We wouldn't be having all this at any point in time. Okay, moving on here. Federal universities remain tuition free, says presidency. All right. Well, that's at least that's a good news. Looking at the news that made the headline sometimes last week about the hike in tuition fees, and looking at what Unilag from 19,000 to 190,000, and that's humongous. And wow, education should be for everybody, but then the way it is right now is just as if it's just going to be for some select set of people whose parents can afford to send their kids to the universities. And education is the bedrock of development in any nation. And once this education is ain't there anymore, then there is going to be a big problem here. All right. Another story making the rounds from the Nation newspaper. This looks good, right? American proposes marriage to Chibok girl in US. Please just go and enjoy yourself. That's a good one. We wish them the very best as they settle in as couples in the US or wherever they would settle in. Let's move on quickly. Checking out other stories making the rounds from another daily, the Punch newspaper at this moment in time. The Punch newspaper there, the big bold headline. It says, Tinubu pleads for more time as NLC issues strike notice. The writers there says, presidency meets NLC, TUC over palliative delay. Labour insists on Wednesday protest. Resident doctors strike ground hospitals. Federal government may enforce court order against Labour. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We just hope the needful will be done. The needful should just be done. And the picture there, you have quite a whole lot of what is happening in Niger Republic, and other pictures associated to that story. You see, there is Mr. President in that picture as well. But the story there says, Niger president supporters protest. AU, ECOWAS condemn coup plot. We condemn it in totality. Coup should not be a thing that is here anymore. Democracy should thrive around the world, and Africa would need to understand this. No matter what it looks like, there are things to do. There are ways to go about this, but I think it's becoming unbecoming of us here in Africa to do all this. But moving on, still from the pages of Punch newspaper on the bottom strip, mass burial, hashtag NSAS coalition demands DNA mapping compensation. Mass burial, hashtag NSAS coalition demands DNA mapping compensation. Yeah, it's been something that we've seen in the last couple of days. The 103 bodies to be given mass burial. Those were the bodies that were not that were recovered during the NSAS protests in October of 2020 in Nigeria, and it's really, really sad there. But a coalition is calling for the DNA and mapping compensation. All right, moving further. Daredevil daylight robbers return to Lagos Street, then chase them out or get them arrested as well. Then Musa, why I sell fuel as 580 naira per liter. That's a Nigerian there selling fuel. I don't know. On the top strip of the Nation newspaper for today, National Assembly to unveil ministerial list today. That's credited to Akpabio's list. And talking IPOB here, Senate to work for Ekpa's extradition, kills pro-Kanu motion. And APC crisis deepens as Lukman resigns, blames president. Okay, that's all from the Punch newspaper. Let me check out other stories making the rounds from Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust newspaper is next. And you have that bold caption, coup attempt ECOWAS sends mission to Niger Republic. And the writer there says, residents protest as EU, France, AU condemn military takeover. It's long time coming. That's credited to diplomats. Move can affect Nigeria's security architecture. That's credited to an expert saying. Obviously, I agree with that expert. The borderline between Nigeria and Niger Republic is something you could just cross it, and it's not really. It's not, the borders in Nigeria isn't firm, and it gives quite a whole lot of concern at this moment. And so you're probably having people having their way in here without being checked, without being scrutinized, and what have you. But we just hope peace will return to Niger Republic. Okay, a couple of other headlines still from the pages of Daily Trust newspaper. Lukman resigns as APC vice chairman. Senate confirms staffer Alkali, other NEDC board members. Google says Nigerians can now pay with Naira on Play Store. All right, it's noted. And you could that picture there speaks about what's happening at our different hospitals. This is because of the strike by the resident doctors. Resident doctor strike cripples health services nationwide. And critically ill patients turned back, others discharged, stranded. We just hope, and we hope, and we are urging government at all levels to please do something concerning this. This is not good. You guys can fly to Dubai, to the UK, to Israel, get quality healthcare, but the ones we have here, why don't you guys, hey, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the entire state governors, why don't you guys do the needful concerning this? Let's make this work. Our hospitals need to work. Most of us can't travel out. Most of us don't have any other option. This is Jerusalem. This is even our Bethlehem at this point in time. Let's get all these institutions working so that, yeah, those of us who can travel can actually get into those places and get ourselves treated. On the top strip of the same daily, bandits kill 7 soldiers, ward head, 28 farmers in Zamfara and Bauchi. Labour issues 7-day strike notice, urges federal government to reverse anti-masses policies. And diphtheria, Bauchi shut down schools as 5 students die. Wow, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. Okay, let's move on here and let's go straight to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper is what I have next here. Virtually, they all just have the same story. But let's look at what Guardian has to say here. Tinubu, 60 days after, Tinubu toes familiar path as ministers may not resume till September. We'll keep our fingers crossed. We'll see what that looks like in the course of this. Nigerians await palliatives. That's another story there. And NLC insists on August 2nd nationwide protest over rising hardship and poor policies. NBA, Ubani, Falana, others knock DSS over disgraceful conduct. I concur. That's a disgrace to that agency of government, the DSS in Lagos, or the day before yesterday. It was a total disgrace what actually happened there. And NAS gives government 7 days ultimatum to rescind fee hike in higher institutions. 1 killed, others injured as traders protest over sealed shops in Enugu. And on the top strip of the same daily, Nigeria, others risk losing U.S. market over uneven AGOA utilization, AGUA utilization. That's what it's called. And Niger coup, ECOWAS, global community won't tolerate threats to democracy. That's credited to Tinubu speaking there. ISWAP target headers killed 27 in Borno. That's wow. That's not fantastic. It's nothing to really write home about. Some of the headlines making the rounds from the different dailies at this moment in time. And after this very short break, I will be joined by the Deputy National Editor of National Association of Resident Doctors, He will be joining me via Zoom. We will be looking at the issue, why they strike, what is the reason for this strike, what are their demands, and what have they been able to discuss with the federal government at all and the government at all levels. And is this looking bright for Nigeria that doctors are going on strike? Morning Spring is still the program. Stay with us. I'll be back.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Eva is pounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
The 1914 Amalgamation Treaty is synonymous to the birth of Nigeria. Frederick Lugard, a British Army captain and an outlaw who struck gold in Africa, became the instrument used by destiny to make it happen. The amalgamation of Nigeria was designed for economic reasons by the colonial administration to offset Northern Protectorate budget deficit by Southern Protectorate surplus returns. The amalgamation had ad initio created imbalance in the economic political structure of Nigeria and was responsible for the persistent hiccups and the efforts to forge a united country till today. Nigeria's amalgamation was labeled as the mistake of 1914 by native northern conservatives who neither wanted it nor contributed anything significant to its sustenance. Western Spring Television identifies with Amalgamation Treaty of 1914 as a watershed event in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. Gbadamosi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held lofty the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkelemens was a natively corrupted version of peculiar mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history. Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness in participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history. This iconic African presents the narrative of a man destined to exert an imperishable global influence in Western education. His was a story of a freeborn, captured and sold into slavery. He was born in Oshogun, a native Yoruba village near Iseyin in Okeogun axis of southwest Nigeria. Samuel Ajayi Crowther was the foundation student of Fora Bay College, Sierra Leone, the foremost university where the pioneer set of native Africans were educated. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's greatest contribution to humanity was his translation of the Holy Bible into the Yoruba language. The man who authored the Yoruba dictionary was also credited with the translation of English classic hymns into Yoruba and the Ekwere languages. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's private residence in Badagry, incidentally the first story building in Nigeria, is an Akaba museum dedicated to the memory of Africa's first bishop. Western Spring Television identifies Samuel Ajayi Crowther as a watershed character in history.
Okay, thank you most sincerely for being there. Let's get down to the business of the morning proper at this moment in time. If you're just joining us, Morning Spring is the program right here from Western Spring Television. And it's no more news concerning what's happening with our very amazing doctors that we've got here in Nigeria. That the National Association of Resident Doctors have decided to embark on a strike. Why? What is the reasons behind this strike? What were the agreements they had with government at all levels concerning certain things that they need. We will get to know all these things in the course of this program, as I will be joined via Zoom all the way from Lagos, the Deputy Editor of National Association of Resident Doctors, Dr. Nana FAYOWOLE. FAYOWOLE is joining me at this moment in time via Zoom. Dr. FAYOWOLE, good morning, and thank you for joining us once again.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Okay, here we go. Why are we going on strike? What is the reason for this? Is there a cause that you have been calling government at all levels concerning? Why this strike at this moment in time? Let's take it from there first.
Yeah, thank you so much. Basically, the issues are very current and probably later will probably be perennial. And because we've been on the same set of demand for months and years, and it's usually a very difficult decision coming to a point where you need to declare an industrial action. We are quite aware that we had given several ultimatums. Even this year alone, we've given about 3 ultimatums, all in the view that governments will just address the issues that are in contention. And we kept having this feeling of this lackluster attitude from government and its agencies towards matters that concerns the health sector, especially when we know that even right now there are pockets of outbreaks here and there, anthrax in some parts of the country, diphtheria. And then we are seeing the body language doesn't speak well of what is in it for the health system, and going through having to rewind to see the experience of the country in 2020 during COVID-19. I think one would have wondered that. Don't joke with the health system of any nation, because that determines a whole lot. Your economic reality is even dependent on how healthy your working population is. And so these are just the real issues. And some of the demands that have been recurrent, that basically we had told them as a fallout of the COVID-19, the presidency set up a presidential committee to address some of the issues, brain drain and all that. So there's a policy of 1-for-1 replacement of doctors, because the death of brain drain was becoming enormous and coming in to do something. So they stopped the committee, and as of February, they had submitted their report to the civil head of service. All we needed was for it to be circularized so that the government, the various CEOs of various institutions can be empowered to replace doctors, nurses, and other clinical staff who are living by the day, so as to reduce the burden of workload on the few doctors and nurses and other clinical staff who are left in the system. But apparently, if you look at it as if just to release circular on a report like doesn't even need money, it's taking months, and we have members who are collapsing. Almost every week now we have obituary of one member or the other, and the work continues even when somebody falls. And so how much of this do you think we can take? It's obviously too much for us. And even now we are giving ultimatum for 2 weeks. We had nothing from the government until on the 17th. The ultimatum was supposed to elapse on the 19th. On the 17th we had the first call. I was more like a child's play. There wasn't any seriousness with that. So. And we're supposed to make decision on the 19th. We kept giving government, come, we are ready. Come talk to us and let's avert this strike. Not until on the 20th, the AGF met with us and we were like, okay, we appreciated him meeting with us, and we said, okay, and he showed good faith and said, what exactly can we give to just avert this strike? And we mentioned just 1 or 2 out of our list of demand. Just do this. We can advise, we can talk to our very reasonable members, and they will reason with government. And we gave that. The meeting went into recess because we couldn't conclude, because we needed to give him that space of 24 to 48 hours. They asked for, but we didn't get anything until after 1 week or thereabout, and we had to make a decision that on behalf of the people we represent.
Right. Some of your demands that you guys have been agitating for is the immediate payment of the 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund and the immediate release of the circular on one-for-one replacement. Now, NARD is also demanding payment of skipping arrears and upward review of consolidated medical salary structure. That's the CONMES, in line with full salary restoration to the 2014 value of CONMES. What's been the reaction? What's been the comments as from government? Did you at any point, the members, the executive of NARD, at any point in time before giving the 2 weeks ultimatum, were you able to meet with government and discuss this, renew these issues with them before now?
Thank you so much. Definitely, this is what we kept doing. We are very diplomatic. We have exhausted every avenue, every diplomatic avenue, and we kept hitting the rock on all of this. And in fact, it will surprise you that even when we had a warning strike in May, a 5-day warning strike, as part of the activities, engagement with government, then there was a memorandum of understanding signed. And all of the things you just read out, we're all there. And they were there with timelines, like, okay, the matter of a one-for-one replacement, it was on that memorandum of understanding signed by all the permanent secretaries of the various ministries and departments that are involved, signed. Those are the highest civil servants in the land, because we knew that was close to handing over. So the Minister of Labor and Employment would probably be leaving. So he ensured that all the most senior civil servants were in the meeting, and they were the one that signed. He didn't sign for Labor. The permanent secretary of Minister of Labor signed, and she's still in the system. So it was done deliberately so that there can be smooth transition from one government to the other. But then on one-for-one replacement, on that MOU, the timeline was June 5, and today's date is by July already. And so we kept wondering, what exactly is these issues? And the truth is that they have not said they do not agree with any of the demands. So your own people, as far back as 2014, the list are there, it's been submitted. Why are you not paying? Some persons were missed out when hazard allowance was paid last year. This is the list, the money is still there. Why are you not paying? And downgrading of our members in West African College. We write exams as Nigerians with other West African countries. In Ghana, in Sierra Leone, there's a status, the college has a status for this particular exam. All of a sudden, last year, our Medical and Dental Council just downgraded it from B to C, meaning that just an additional knowledge, something that you really have to, I don't know if you have people in the medical field, any of the medical exams, it's just not something you want to toy with. It's a whole family affair. Sometimes your wife praying, your mother is praying, and you yourself, you are praying and reading like, only for someone to wake up, or an agency of government to wake up and downgrade it for no reason. And we're just asking, explain to us if there's any reason why you have to do this. And our counterparts in Ghana and Sierra Leone and other West African countries are not doing that. So we are not getting any response. And these are things that would not even necessarily need money to solve. Just call them, come, why have you done this? Let there be those reasons. And if it's tenable, yeah. If it's not, then you revert back to where it used to be. And that is what we're asking for. And nobody has challenged us. Okay, we have a superior argument. Because we are very reasonable people. We bring up the argument. Come to the table and then convince us to otherwise on our demands. But we haven't had that from government. All we see is that sometimes one wants to start these delay tactics. You see one committee, another committee will be set up to review what a report of another committee that was previously submitted. Just in the case of one-for-one replacement, the permanent secretary of mission was actually asking for another committee. Again, when the committee actually submitted a report that was not worked on. So it was amazing the way government works, really, and it's actually not acceptable to us.
Yeah, but on Monday, you met with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, weren't there things to fine-tune? I know he stated that you guys should bear your mind and so that this strike could probably happen. But is it? It seemed there wasn't an headway with meeting with the Right Honourable Speaker on Monday.
Well, I wouldn't say there's any headway. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have gone on, because we were all out to avert the strike. All means we reduced. In fact, we just made on the table. We reduced all of this. Okay, to avert the strike, just release this circular, a one-for-one replacement. Just pay, give approval. It was just even approval that okay, because it's been memorandum of 2023 has been budgeted for. It's not as if they're looking for money elsewhere. It's in 2023 budget. So all we needed was approval. We know it will not come almost immediately. It may just take a space of 1 week or thereabout for the money to come. But then that approval was withheld. We just don't know why. And we didn't get that filler from somebody that is coming from to negotiate in good faith. We didn't have that. And to our surprise, too, most of the agencies that were supposed to be in that meeting were not there. Only the Minister of Finance was represented. And it was just as if we're going back on the stages we had passed before. But subsequently, I think we have seen that he's also making an attempt, and we thank him for that. And even yesterday, we saw some pictures online that probably had met with the president. And currently, the national president is on his way to probably be in Abuja shortly to have continue this deliberation. Even when we're on strike now, we're still very open. We want to limit the collateral damages. We don't want it prolonged, but then that depends on the responses we get from the government, and that is where at the point we are.
Looking at this demands that your association is demanding now, what is the periodic review time that such demands like this should be reviewed? Is there something like that between you and government, even not just this government, you and government at all levels before now?
Yes, especially with the consolidated medical salary structure, which is the comments review that we have been asking for. In fact, it was approved in 2009 and implemented in 2014. In the collective bargaining agreement, it was supposed to be reviewed every 5 years. And we hadn't had any review up until now, and this is over 10 years. And that's what, when we put out the figures, because we didn't just, if you see our communique, we were requesting for 200% increment, and that is just to restore us back to where we were as of 2014, because we had to consider inflation, the pump price of fuel, and then the interest rate and the forex exchange rate, along all of these things. And we ran the figure, and we were getting as high as 270% increment just to take back to where we were in 2014. But the feeling we're getting is that we're not having all of this. And at some point, we saw that federal government was trying to throw 25% on us. And we said that this will not do anything. All we're asking for, we're not having arbitrary figures. How have we arrived at the 25%? And we know that there's massive brain drain. And one of the reasons that we had scientifically proven is that 80% of the time, it is related to poor remuneration. Can we try to do something that will try to even stall before we talk of reversing the brain drain? So all our demands were things that can provide some solution to some of the issues we have in the health system. So the comments was supposed to be reviewed every 5 years, but government was never true to it. And imagine giving somebody 25% now, you never can tell when next is going to be reviewed. Maybe the next 20 years from now, and then give it 25%, we're not going to do anything. That was even before the 20% we're requesting was even before the advent of subsidy removal. And even after subsidy removal, the pump price went to 500. We had even had a hike in the pump price to 617. And if you run the figures again, I'm sure the last communique in May OGM, it was after May OGM was where we ran the figure. It took us about 600%, but we felt that we need to be consistent. We still stopped to the 200% increment that we requested as far back as July 7, 2022. That if government can do this, then we'll probably give government a chance. But then nobody is showing us any superior argument, and all we see is government being evasive in terms of their responsibility, and that is not acceptable to us.
Yeah, Dr. Nana, can you, for clarity of purpose and to our esteemed viewers here, I want to let's look at some of these demands, some of these resolutions that the association have actually stated. Looking at the circular on one-for-one replacement of exited clinical staff in the various, what does that mean, so that people can actually get to understand all these demands that the association is demanding?
Thank you so much. One-for-one replacement is that it is no news that nurses, doctors, and other healthcare workers are leaving the country in droves, and it's negatively impacting on the health system. If you come to the hospital now, the waiting time is longer. If you are going to, anybody that needs surgery will probably be on the waiting list for so long. So it's worrisome, so to speak. So we had, in fact, the committee set up by government had proposed that let there be, because we know that waiver system has been the problem. The bureaucracy around it has been very problematic, because to get approval for you to employ in a teaching hospital or any government facility, it will take a minimum of 8 months. Imagine a whole lot of people living, you have to wait for 8 months before you replace them.
Well, I think, oh boy.
So it wasn't okay. So if
the audio seem to be having a little bit technical. The audio from Dr. Nana, we just hope we can actually get to connect with him and get clarity. Dr. Nana, can you still hear me? Hello? Okay, great. If you're just joining, we will try and reconnect with Dr. Nana FAYOWOLE, the deputy editor of the National Association of Resident Doctors, concerning this strike, this indefinite, it's been tagged an indefinite strike. What does this mean for people who are in the hospitals? And there is definitely no day that patients won't be visiting the hospitals. It is a really trying moment for doctors and for patients in Nigeria. And just as what he has said, some of their demands, let me just try reel out some of their demands that they are claiming that, look, if all these things can be done, it's definitely going to get them back to work, and such as the NEC, the Executive Council of NARD, demands the immediate release of the circular on one-for-one replacement of exited clinical staff in the various hospitals. Also, they demand the immediate payment of the 2023 Medical Residency Training Fund. This should be done without further delay. That's what they are saying. Also, NEC is demanding the commencement of payment of all salary arrears owed to their members, including the 2014, 2015, and 2016 salary arrears, hazard allowance arrears, as well as arrears of the consequential adjustment of the minimum wage. Others are still the immediate implementation of full CONMES domestication of MRTA payment of the MRTF, that's the training fund, medical residency training fund, and review of the hazard allowance by all state government. They are also demanding the immediate reversal of the downgrading of the membership certificate by the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, that's the MDCN. And they are also demanding that comments should be reviewed in line with full salary restoration and based on their previous communications with the government. And these are some of the things the association, resident doctors, are actually demanding. And if this is met, definitely they will be back at work. And looking at what it looks like at this moment in time, the level at which our doctors, medical personnel, not just doctors, medical personnel, leaving the shores of this great nation called Nigeria in droves. It's a cause for worry. And just as Mr. Dr. FAYOWOLE stated there, that if you have to visit the hospital, you know the number of minutes, if not running into hours, you will have to wait before you can get attention, because the number of doctors in each hospital these days, it's minute, and the number of patients coming in is on the large scale. So we just hope things will be done and done properly, so that we can always get this right. Dr. FAYOWOLE, can you hear me? Hello, Doctor, are you there? Oh boy.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Very soon, sincere apology. Thank you for staying tuned. And let's move on here. You were trying to explain to us the one-for-one replacement of exited clinical staff in the various offices as part of what the demand is. What is this one-for-one replacement? What does it mean?
Okay, thank you very much. Just as I was saying, it is what as is actually stated, because we know people are living in droves, doctors, nurses, and a whole lot of clinical staff. So it was just for us to cut that long bureaucracy of waiver system. And all that entails is that if you have 20 persons who have left your hospital, the names of the 20 and their cadre, maybe 20 doctors, 50 nurses have left. So you compile that list, the CEO of various hospitals, then take it to Abuja with the same grade level of replacement. You have lost 20 persons to Japa syndrome. You want to replace with 20. So just as if you are swapping. So take this one off the salary, the payments, and substitute with this. And so to that gap between when people are leaving and when people are being replaced. And this will go a long way into helping the health system. But we are having these difficulties. Not if you don't cost anything extra. You are just swapping those that have left, replacing them with new people who are probably available to take up the job. And that is exactly what the one-for-one replacement is. It's actually replacement. You are not bringing anybody new. So you're just replacing those that have left the system.
Looking at arrears that you are demanding from 2014, 15, and 16 of your members. Now, that's what. Why has this association waited till now? From 2014, you have salary arrears that has not been paid by government. This is 2023. That's about 9 years. Why? What has been the delay? Why has all these arrears not been paid before now? Doctor?
Thank you so much. Okay. You know, the funny thing is that this is something that amazes us. And can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, these are some of the things that is difficult to explain to our members, because there's no communique or any of our releases since 2014, 2015, 2016 that has not been carrying these arrears. But government we ignore. Okay, just as I'm saying now, 2022 hazard allowance, improved hazard allowance was paid in 2021 from last year, 2022. And here we are again in 2020, we are still shouting about it. If it's not paid now, we'll be shouting again in 2024. It's not saying the list is there, the amount that is budgeted for it to be paid is there, pay. But government will just, I don't know really. The attitude is what is actually very, very bothersome and very annoying, to say the least. It's always been a recurrent thing. It's always been in all our conversation with government. But they just found a way of not doing it. And when we go back to work, it just will not get done until there's another agitation again. Who include it, and then that is why this thing has lingered for too long. And not even now that the economic reality is so terrible on anybody. And so this is not the right time to owe anybody. It's not even worse off in some state tertiary institutions like Abia State, where they're being owed over 2 years. It's criminal. I really don't understand why politicians are so comfortable and making people go through a whole lot of suffering. And that is just why we can't explain it, and that's why it's actually very annoying to our members.
Doctor, has the federal government at any point in time come out to say, look, gentlemen, because of this and this and this, that's why we've not been able to meet your demands? Have they at any point come out to state that with you people?
No. Wow. No, because we don't make frivolous demand. we make demands based on we run them through a very logical process, and that is the truth. And nobody has told us, and because you have to prove to us why what we are demanding you think is out of place. Because right now, the last I saw was people sharing money, 70 billion to this, 35 billion, 19 billion to this. And I look at that list, there's no health on that. And I was saying to myself that, you don't ignore health and education in any have to be on your priority list if you really mean well for any country. I didn't see that. If I'm saying 70 billion for less than 500, you really cannot explain to me that putting all of the things that we had demanded, that they're not feasible. I'm sure it's going to take a lot for anybody to convince us that, okay, these guys are not worthy of what they are demanding. And by the way, there's even a 2001 Abuja declaration. Wow. Where heads of states of West African countries had mandated that for you to have a fairly okay health system, you must have budgetary allocation up to the tune of 15% of your annual budget dedicated to health. It was a declaration in Abuja. Till today, we have not gotten to 10%. In fact, what I'm hearing in the news just now that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is even promising to take it to 10%. And this is a declaration that has been on since 2011 in our homeland. It was the Abuja declaration. So, in fact, the consideration as of 2001, if you put all of that together, I'm sure if they will probably be proposing, and they will probably be proposing something higher. But we never met that. But if you have met what that Abuja declaration may be a lot, and some of these issues of incentives and remunerations will probably not be an issue. And that is where we said, do what you have signed up to. It's just very simple logic, but then it's amazing sometimes when you deal with government of
I remember you made mention of the fact that the national president is on his way to Abuja, and if there is a resolution to all this today, would we go back to work?
Well, thank you. What I will assure us is that it was a very hard decision to take, and we are also very much available to review it. In fact, currently we're having our National Executive Council meeting, which will be ending. The business session will be tomorrow, and then on Saturday we'll have a press conference. So if it comes back today and these things are tabled before NEC members, we can have a decision. We want to limit the number of days spent or the collateral damages. We don't want a patient to suffer needlessly because of attitude of government. Because furthermore, if you miss surgery because we are on strike, or you miss cleaning because of strike, on the day you resume, all of the patients will come, and all the patients you have for surgery that will come, meaning that you have only shifted the burden, the work burden. It probably will accumulate on you when you come back. So we don't want that, because we are actually few in number. The doctor to patient ratio is something we don't, very abysmal. It's something that shouldn't even be mentioned anywhere in the world. But then that's our reality in Nigeria. But then we are very open. In fact, he ought to be sharing the meeting today, but he had to leave because we are open, and we are open to amicable resolution, and very fast. So
I know, looking at all these demands, and but the point is, we will just appeal, and we just hope there can be a resolution to this, because if we have to look at the hospitals today, patients are waiting for various treatments and what have you, but where are the doctors? Nowhere to be found. Excuse me. Excuse me. But we just hope something drastic will be done, and we can have you all back at work at this moment in time. I want to thank you most sincerely, Dr. FAYOWOLE. We hope there will be a resolution, and in the course of probably the weekend, we will get to talk and find out what is the next line of action.
Thank you.
Excuse me. All right, and that's it with Dr. FAYOWOLE, and that will be all on the show for this morning. I'll be back again tomorrow. Good morning.
Those who are in support of the additional prayer that the poor should be allowed to breathe, say aye. And those who are against, say nay. The ayes have it, the poor must be allowed to breathe. Let me